Hello, welcome YouTube. Sorry about that. I want to firstly apologize. I will be doing a reaction to a video from artchad. I'm not very good at reactions, so yeah, sorry about that. Another apology. Sorry if the sound is very bad. I can only apologize on my fault for using bad tech. Um, The major points I'm going to speak about, I will just copy paste them down in comments. And I will try and be very quick with my discussion on the points here because I have a lot to go through in my reaction to this video. Why am I doing this? Well, I I would like to hope that he would like some sort of response to a lot of things that he said in this. I will encourage people to please watch his video. It's right here. Incel armies of Africa nobody's talking about. He makes a lot of good points. I am also making responses to certain things I agree with and certain things I don't agree with. They will be there. I will get into them. Um, right. To start with, um, right. I will try not to pass blame on this video, and I do not encourage anyone to start saying this is wrong, that is wrong. I don't want to start a flame war or internet battle, but just no. Humanity is a lot better than that. Um, the next thing I would say, I will try my best not to offend. If what I do say comes as offensive to anyone, I can only apologize. It's not my intention. Um, and with that, I would get straight into the video. There are a lot of points that artchad made, a lot of valid points. He got a lot of points right and a lot of points wrong. Firstly, he did a lot of good research on the matter. Um, he covered a lot of points. One good thing that he did say and he did acknowledge is Africa is not a very easy place to actually make research on because there are different aspects to Africa is not just one place. And even when you now go down to geopolitical kind of like countries, for lack of a better way of putting it, countries, even those countries don't follow one rule of law. So it's not that easy to get any sort of information on this. He he did very good work in highlighting the multiple issues that everyone faced. Um, for someone who's not from Africa, he made a good effort to try and understand the problems that's going on. And overall, it's a good starting point on the matter, but I don't think the conclusion reflects a lot of the matters at play. I will basically scroll down to even the comments if I can at the end of this, so hopefully you will understand the points. There are a lot of points I will state I don't agree with. I don't want this to come across as I'm being overly critical on artchad with the points I don't agree with. I know I'm going to a lot of this video is going to be on that matter, but it's just to bring up other issues that should probably be looked at as well. First thing I would say is, Archad, you are looking at this from a Western lens, so it doesn't lend true to the matters at play. Um, I don't mean this in bad light, but the thing is, you have your opinions on what is right based on the Western upbringing, which doesn't necessarily mean Western is better than African or African is better than Western. It's just that it is different. So you have different natural bias on the matter. There is a very heavy push to say poly relationships directly lead to incel behavior. Again, this is based on the title, as you can see. And again, just looking at this here, it's basically saying that incel terrorists, forgive the word, incel bad people who don't have the opportunity to get married and such resorts to violence. I will say it's a very heavy push to come to that conclusion. I won't say that's, poly isn't kind of like a factor in it. It may even be the main factor. Okay, I'm not saying it's not a factor. It's probably a factor. It's probably a main factor, but it's not the only factor. Okay, it may even be the deciding factor, but it's not the only factor. There are other factors at play. Um, in business, there's a thing called the pestle analysis: political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. For each area, every area that you mentioned, I will suggest you do a separate pestle analysis. You would see different aspects at play in each of these areas. You pointed out that there are a number of factors again, yeah, but the thing is you generalized a lot, because this here again is generalizing a much local problem to a much wider issue. Um, so again, if you do a generalized answer, you will get a generalized answer, which doesn't necessarily address the matters at play. Yes, I agree. There is a correlation between the regions brought up and poly support and their support for polygamy. I'll just call it poly. Um, there are other regions which give poly supports that aren't war torn, so you missed an interesting chance to investigate why this is. Um, like let's just say um, one of the places you mentioned was northern Nigeria. Okay, that doesn't mean that southern Nigeria aren't poly as well. Okay, that doesn't mean like I don't know. I'm just gonna give a random place, Dubai. They aren't poly. I don't know if they are poly in Dubai. I'm just giving that as a random example. But why is it that certain aspects, like let's just say you mentioned northern Nigeria and I call South Africa, let's say both places are poly. I'm just saying, giving a random example. Let's imagine both places are poly. Why is it that poly is bad in one area and it's not bad in another? Because this is giving the impression that poly leads to incel bad people. Okay. Um, there were factors that were left out. I will try my best to go through all these factors, but there are reasons why I'm mentioning these particular factors, because these factors do affect the impact and effectiveness of a local uprising occurring. First question, you didn't address average education levels. Um, Highly educated citizens are less likely to start problems. Less likely, not impossible, but less likely. Average poverty. I don't mean poverty as in, impoverished, terrible, places that can't even afford water. I mean like poverty in the sense of how likely is it that an average citizen has the ability to progress their lives fairly in society, that you go out, you do your best, you're a nice upstanding person, you're morally upright, you go to school, you go to uni, you get a job, and you get a fair wage, and you're able to look after yourself and your family. That's what I mean when I said poverty. I don't mean it in the sense of, well, yeah, you understand what I'm saying. Social infrastructure. Is the state equipped to enforce reasonable levels of order? So if someone says they want to start a riot today, well, in them trying to start a riot, is the police capable of stopping this and enforcing law and order? Culture and religion, their control over societal matters. Poly has been in Africa for a long time. There, it's and as such, they did have they did have their traditional religions and their traditional cultures, which kept poly from going out of hand. This is why I say it is possible for poly relationships to work in certain scenarios, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work. You say poly is bad because the rich abuse it in through some cultures, but some cultures see it as a status symbol. You also ignore the fact that the rich in non-poly relationships, monogamous relationships, also abuse the system as well. So mono relationships aren't any better themselves. Um, they can't really play the system and use their money to their advantage. Um, even in traditional cultures, the worst in societies do have a shot on getting a decent girl. They may not get the best girl, but they do have a shot on getting a decent girl. Again, in traditional cultures. Poly and non-poly relationships, like I mentioned earlier, they can work if done right. What constitutes being right and what constitutes being wrong? It depends. Like we've said, different places in Africa have different rules. As such, one solution isn't going to always work in another area. And poly, like I said, is not new, it's been practiced. There was a it was balanced because it had checks and balances, and different checks and balances are different to each area. Some of these checks and balances are not in place now. That's why it's causing a problem now and didn't cause a problem before. Remember, there were some Western civilizations that did agree with poly. You ignore the impact of the West in Africa. Now, I'm not saying all of it is negative, and this should not devolve into bashing on attacking the West who had no hand in, the colonialism, or average Joe who isn't responsible for megacorp. But the point I'm trying to make is there are big companies that benefit from unstable or controllable governments, be it in Africa, the West, East, North, South, wherever. There are companies that benefit from keeping places unstable. It's not just companies, also, there are governments that benefit from instability. Some of it is internal. Some internal problems that are there, and some external problems. I would like to also stress non-poly relationships aren't perfect. Neither are poly relationships perfect. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to balance the argument against poly. Both relationship types, they can work if they're done right. Um, if anyone wants me to basically do another expansion on this video, I would gladly do so. I'm just trying to be mindful of time and keep it within it. Aside from that, I will put links to the original artchad video. It's very good, well done, a lot better than my video right now. I will scroll down, see. Again, a few people, they gave him a lot of support. They said as an African, they're much impressed by the research that he done. I'm very happy. Monogamy gives everyone peace, away, inward, outward. Again, these are all opinions and comments. Um, I will say people should, if you want to look at it, have a look at it. Um, Aside from that, thank you for your time. And yeah, as a Nigerian who only knows one polygamous person, his grandpa's brother, I'm surprised that many people who comment seem to believe that there's a man with four wives on every street. Again, it's not everywhere that's poly, even in poly supportive places. But again, that doesn't mean in non-poly supportive places, that doesn't mean that people aren't poly. It Poly can work and poly can fail. Um, Aside from that, I thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you all next time.